Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, as this is one of our HRO Today global educational podcasts, and we're going to be joined by representatives of the talent and workforce service community from different parts of the world. We're going to be talking about a very important topic today. I'm Elliot Clark. I'm the CEO of HRO Today. We publish HRO Today magazine. We host the HRO Today forums held around the world, and we manage the HRO Today Association. This podcast is one of our HRO Today educational podcasts and is sponsored today by Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry, as we all know, is one of the largest, most prestigious, and most successful workforce service companies in the world, with an enormous portfolio of offerings ranging from executive search to recruitment process outsourcing to learning and development, engagement, and workforce planning consulting services. We're joined today by two of their executives to talk about digital transformation. This is something everyone's dealing with, and we're going to talk about how it's impacting the marketplace. Digital transformation requires not only updating your technological infrastructure, but also considerable thought on the kind of workforce, IT department and other departments, needed to update, maintain, and continually evolve that infrastructure. Now, as we're recording this, we're just coming to sort of the later phases of the global pandemic, and this pandemic has dramatically accelerated the digitization of both for-profit and not-for-profit entities. As a result of having to go digital, the skill shortage for technology professionals has become more acute, and the need to recognize digital skills have a so-called half-life is also pressing on the marketplace. Many of the people who were doing digital transformation 5 years ago, if they didn't keep up with new technology, they're starting to lose some of their currency as potential candidates for your organization. These labor market realities are both global and local. So we have, as I said, Korn Ferry leaders joining us from both North America and APAC to give us a sense of both the global and local challenges. This is the first in a three-part series of the role of workforce planning, talent acquisition, and talent development in managing digital transformation. The question that haunts all of us about our companies when it comes to talent and technology is, are you digitizing or are you dying? Because if you are not digitizing, you're not going to be competitive. We're joined today by our guest. Curtis Britt is the Vice President of Technology Talent Solutions for Korn Ferry, so it falls directly in his responsibility for North America to work with clients on developing solutions around having the workforce to accomplish digital transformation. His counterpart, also a Vice President of Technology Talent Solutions for Asia Pacific, is Bridget Gray, and they are joining us today. Welcome to the podcast, Curtis.
Thanks for having us, Elliot. Our pleasure.
Oh, well, thank you for joining. And Bridget, likewise, thank you for getting up early to do this recording with us as well.
Thank you, Elliot. It's really great to be here with you and Curtis this morning.
And we appreciate the perspectives that both of you are going to bring to our listener and practitioner audience. So let's talk about what has the Technology Talent Solutions Group at Korn Ferry found to be the real landscape for shortages, and how can companies make sure that they're either hiring for the new technologies or ensuring an upskilling program to keep both their technology and their talent teams up to date? So why don't we get the Asia Pacific perspective first, Bridget? What are you actually finding to be sort of the current state of affairs when you go and look at your clients about their programs for both acquiring and upskilling talent?
There's no question that we are experiencing a skill set shortage across the region, across all areas really of IT and digital, but there are pockets where we're seeing a more dramatic scarcity. And I'd say that's probably around cloud and DevOps, and that probably has to do very much with our situation working in a different way, needing a lot more cloud availability and a lot more demand around employee experience. So that cloud DevOps space is somewhere that we're just not able to necessarily find enough people. And I think that's changed the landscape because they've realized that no matter how good their business strategy is around digital transformation, how good their leaders are in the exec teams or their digital and technology leadership team, they're going to be unable to meet their transformational goals unless they can find enough of these skill sets. So that's where we are partnering with our clients to really help address that immediate gap for them. But we're also really having to talk about reskilling, redeploying, and more the mid to long term with our clients, not just the short term, because there are some people that I've seen and some of my clients have handled this transition better than others. But I would say that those leaders and businesses that had really thought longer term around skill sets like cloud, DevOps, cyber, some of those really niche skill sets 3 years ago are faring a lot better than those that are perhaps trying to play catch up now. So it's an exciting time. I think we're really fortunate where we are because we've got a lot of historic information that can help our clients with the intelligence cloud around data and insight. So we're really able to combine the science with the experience, but there's a lot to do. And there's no question that there's an absolute war for talent. And that's where the conversations are changing. I think everybody now understands as a HR professional, an IT leader, an organization, this is about becoming attractive to those candidates and really marketing yourself to them as opposed to assessing whether they're necessarily right for your organization. The way in which you create that workforce is a different thing, but the initial attraction and strategy has really, really shifted in the last 12 months.
And certainly the best way to handle a crisis is to be prepared for it, right? And we all know that. One of the things that happened during the pandemic is because of the prevalence of remote work, everyone was forced onto cloud applications for everything from emails to meetings to conference calls. Everyone was forced to use various SharePoint document sharing programs or Dropbox or whatever those cloud applications were. And companies, by and large, that were unprepared to make that transition are losing competitive advantage. So, Curtis, what are you finding let's move west now, right? We've got the perspective from Asia Pacific. Are you finding that companies here in North America, which is your area of responsibility, are as difficult a circumstance as, let's say, Asia Pacific, where, it's really important to recognize the scarcity?
Yeah, look, it's a global issue, not necessarily just a regional issue. While we will certainly have nuances here in North America that might not affect Asia Pacific in the same way, the significant deficit of talent globally within the technology space is certainly a very real thing. And post-COVID, with everybody really kickstarting digital transformations, technology transformations, ensuring that they have a way to interact and function in a digital way with both customers and vendors and employees, everybody has kickstarted a digital transformation program if they didn't already have one in flight. So what that means is the quote unquote war for talent has really gone nuclear at this point in time for technology talent. We have some research here that shows that the significant deficit we have in technology talent just in the United States can contribute to potentially unrealized output of about $160 billion by 2030, which means that we do not have enough talent in order to fulfill the demand that is in front of us. And there's several challenges to that. One is obviously we need to kickstart and really focus on comp sci programs throughout the US and Canada and make that a top priority for us. We also need to think about how we can train individuals that are on the job. We have plenty of people that have been working in legacy technologies that could very well make the transition. We've seen multiple clients take individuals from accounting and move them into data analytics in order to meet those demands. So it really is going to be a long-term talent solution and strategy that we need to have regionally, and each of our clients needs to have individually to address this significant deficit that we are experiencing.
And one of the things, unlike physics, where they say the law of conservation of mass is that matter can be neither created nor destroyed, only changed. Well, talent can be changed and upskilled, but it can also be created. Are you finding in your respective regions that companies are thinking not only about how do we hire talent in and how do we upskill what we've got and bring new talent in, but how do we ensure that pipeline in the future? Have they really recognized that they need to have that? Because we'll talk in one of the upcoming podcasts about future planning, but are you seeing a lot of clients that have already embraced it, or is this a message you need to bring to them?
It is most certainly a message that we have to bring to them. In many instances, there are some organizations that are thinking about how to, as you termed it, create the talent. However, a lot of the solutions that we see are near-term solutions. So looking at individuals that potentially graduated with a liberal arts degree and, are now out in the market without really a defined home for them long-term, in training them on the job in technology, as long as they have sort of the right competencies and traits and drivers to be successful in the technology space. But again, it's a sort of a near-term solution or immediate solution where thinking about the long-term deficit and how to address that is something that most organizations are still struggling with.
How about in your area, Bridget? Are you also finding you sort of have to bring the message of you have to think about this beyond just the short-term view and have a longer-term plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people, my clients were definitely talking about it. It was quite theoretical in some ways. Like we actually knew that it was something that we all needed to address, but we never anticipated that we would need to address it so quickly. So I think that's one piece. I think one of the areas that the HR professionals that I'm working with are really focused on in this reskilling area is just reimagining how they look at this piece. And as Curtis says, yes, we need to look at the traits and drivers and skills that candidates have, but we also need to make sure, whether they're internal or external, that they really truly do have that curious mindset and want to go on a lifelong learning journey. But then we actually also need to give them the tools and space to get on with that. So one of the pieces is that we tend to focus very much on what we hire, but nurturing that is quite a different piece. I was on a town hall the other day with a client and I really liked what he said. I think there's a lot of people out there at the moment working incredibly hard, but are we actually reskilling and developing this IT talent for the future when we've got them on video calls back to back all day and answering emails? And he was giving his team permission to block out time for learning and for thinking, which is actually what we're all, being paid to do. And certainly in technology, that should be what we're paying our technology teams to do. So it's a real shift that's happened quite quickly in the way in which our workforces interact with the business.
All right. So, folks, there you have it. There is a scarcity of talent in technology professions. Everyone knows that we're talking about STEM. Education is a problem globally, but it could inhibit your ability to do digital transformation if you're not thinking of it as a critical component of your digital transformation strategy. What are the workforce needs? So here we've got Korn Ferry's group that specifically consults on it, saying, yes, there's a scarcity, and most companies are recognizing it, trying to put programs in to upskill and to acquire talent, but there needs to be more focus on long-term planning. That's going to be the subject of our next podcast. Let me tease that now. Stay tuned for episode 2 of digital transformation and workforce requirements related to it. I want to thank Bridget Gray, Vice President of Technology Talent Solutions at Korn Ferry for Asia Pacific, and Curtis Britt, who is the Vice President of Technology Talent Solutions for North America for Korn Ferry. And we will welcome you back to our next podcast, which will go into some of these issues around the long-term planning. Thank you for your time and attention.